somebody asked me about what type of grip techniques I use and what type of trigger pull do I use, you know, how I manipulate the trigger finger on the trigger itself, stuff like that. So I'm going to go through a few things, break it down mentally, give you a few steps, some techniques to practice yourself at home if you want. Alright, before we start doing this, I just want to say that this is just my opinion on shooting. This is how I shoot personally. Everybody shoots a little different. I'm not a pro. I don't get paid for doing this, you know. I don't got no sponsorship or nothing. I work a normal job just like everybody else, man. So it might work for you, it may not, you know. Don't take it all to heart. Alright, first thing I'm going to talk about is stance. Now you got to think of your stance as your shooting platform. You want that platform to be stiff and rigid as possible. If you know anything about building and stuff like that, you got to have a good foundation. You're working off the same principle with shooting. Now personally, for my stance, I have two types of stances. I have long range and I have close range. The close range is mostly for moving. I don't want to confine myself into so much of a tight stance that, you know, I'm not able to move that fast on the different targets. Now the first stance is what I like to use as my fast stance, and it's very simple. Your legs are spread a little bit. Same thing, y'all play football, you got the same principle except you don't spread your legs a little as much. You want to bend your knees a little bit and lean forward just a little bit on your grip itself. Now, for longer range shots, you might want to stay up a little more. You might want to get more of the sight radius and hold that sight a little more. So you won't lean forward as much, and you'll stand a little taller to hold that sight picture just a little bit longer. When your legs are spread and you're bent a little more, you can push off real easy. But when you stand it off, you know, it's not easy to push off. That's the principle of that. Alright, next thing I want to talk about is your draw. And that means when you're drawing the pistol itself. Now this is extremely important. A lot of people overlook this because your initial grip on that firearm is basically essentially what you're setting for your platform to shoot your targets. Now if your grip is inconsistent or sloppy, or you know you're not gripping it properly, now this will translate into your shooting targets. You know, you'll be less accurate, your shots will weave back and forth, you know, you will be able to find your tight grouping and your balance between speed and accuracy. Now personally, it's hard really to explain this. This is more of a practice feature for you to do to yourself. But basically the principle is you just want to do your normal draw like you normally do, but you want to find that tight web in the gun itself. You want to find that tight webbing, and the principle is you want to, if you get that webbing perfectly in that socket exactly where you want it on the firearm to line up straight to the hand, that's your main grip platform. If you get that just about perfect every time, your grip will be good every time when you extend it to the shot itself. So just work on that when you're drawing. You want to put your trigger finger down like you're going for a trigger on the side, and your thumb out of the way, not high, like so, and you just want to come in with it. And this is something you practice on yourself. Just make sure you get that webbing right. Alright, now let's talk about the grip itself. You're going to do your normal draw like I just said, find the webbing on the hand, pull it out. Now personally for my grip, some people like to meet close and then come out. Personally I like to hit it on the way out. It saves me a little more time doing this. Some people like to do the draw, come and stand out. Personally, I like to hit it on the way out. Now, the basic principle is very simple, you know. See if I can get this on camera, right? You grip it like so, find your webbing. You want the barrel bore line to be perfectly in line with your wrist itself. You don't want it to be off to the side or anything like this. You want it to be straight on. Now this would be your right-handed grip or your strong-handed grip. On the other side, with your weak hand, you basically want to come in underneath the firearm. And you'll see this pocket right here. And this pocket is perfect just to basically set your edge of your palm in, sandwich the grip in, and a good way to see if you're doing this right is your thumb indicator. You want to see how your thumb line up to the gun. They should line up about like so. Now some firearms, if you do this, there's a chance you can accidentally hit your slide, catch release, and you'll have a premature slide lock on. You don't want that. So some firearms you can't stick your thumbs forward like so. You got to go like this, and this is how I shoot personally. I always keep my thumbs up a little bit, but the grip is still the same. It's just my thumbs are not lined up. Alright, now that you got the grip down, let's talk about extending your hands and making that final shot. Now, the basic principle is this: you do the grip like I said before, and you place the feet like so, extend the shot forward. Now, some people shoot totally square. They extend their arms forward fully, take a sighted shot pretty much square with the firearm itself. Some people do a Fusilli style where they bend their elbows a little bit. Me personally, I got a bad left eye, so I always go to the right a little bit. Personally, when I grip, I do the full extension like normal, but I'm off to the right a little bit. Now, a note on this is if you got your elbow bent a lot, find when you're doing the grip, this hand totally straight, but this one's all bent, you know. Now, just remember, the way to fix this is some people don't realize is all you got to do is move your weak hand further down the grip. So basically, the further you cock your hand forward on the grip, the further your elbow will straighten out. So let's, for example, my grip is like so, elbow's bent. Further I extend it, it pulls the grip, pulls my elbow into the firearm. Alright, now that we got all that, let's talk about manipulation of the trigger. That's trigger pull basically. Now, the principle of this is of course you want to keep your hand as high as you can in line with the bore. This will allow you to absorb the recoil better and get faster follow-up shots, you know, better target acquisition. You don't want to stick your finger too far through the firearm or you don't want to just hit it with a tip. What you want to do is you basically want to hit it with the flat end between the tip and your first bend of the knuckle right here. I don't know what the fuck they call that, but you get the idea. And you want to lay that flat like so. If you pull it in too far, you'll tend to pull your shots. If you pull it in too less, your trigger figure is just sloppy and you'll never be consistent. Alright, after you break that shot, you want to get the reset to be as less as possible. And what I mean about that is you don't want to slap that trigger. Now, I'm going to dry fire my weapon. Don't do this unless you have zoom caps. That's another technique. If you want to do dry fire techniques, get like something like a zoom cap or a snap cap. That's basically a plastic round with a spring-loaded primer that allow you to dry fire without harming your firearm. Alright, as soon as you fire the firearm, you click and the firearm will rack itself slide and you'll have to release your finger from the trigger to reset the firearm. Now what you don't want to do is this. My finger left the face of the trigger, and it's known as slapping the trigger. What you want to do basically for this is you want to squeeze that trigger, it resets, and when you want to reset that trigger you want just enough to hear that click and then come back to your next shot. You don't want to slap that trigger. So just enough to hear it click and then do your another shot. And that's basically on that. Alright, let's talk about staging your trigger for a shot. Now, staging the trigger for a shot is basically you're taking up the slack in the trigger right before you break the shot itself. Now, you want to take up about 3/4 of your trigger pull. On polymer guns, it's a little harder to do. If you're something like a 1911, you don't got that much slack anyway, so you don't got to worry about it much. But basically, what you want to do is you want to take up most of that slack until you about here to get ready to fire. It's basically 3/4 of the trigger. That way, when you come into the target, you can break it smooth. Alright, now I want to talk about rhythm of the shot. Now, what I mean by this is some people, they do a rhythm with shooting, and they don't let the target determine what speed they shoot the target. You know, they determine the rhythm determines how fast they shoot basically. And what I mean by that is some people they shoot and they're just instead of okay, close, the target's close to me, so I'm going to shoot fast. Okay, that one's further away, so I'm going to take a little more sight picture, shoot a little slower. They shoot a rhythm speed, boom, 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 no matter what range the target is itself. Now, basically, the principle of this is you want to set up different ranges on your targets. So you have one target this close, this one, another target a little further away. Okay, this target this close, and you want the target to determine the speed at which you shoot.